Okay, so there's obviously this thing called the minor pentatonic scale, and I'm just going to play the A minor pentatonic scale. It's right in the middle of the neck. So what I think people should do is there's multiple positions of this pentatonic scale, but I think it's more beneficial to just pretend like none of that exists in the beginning and just work on this scale, okay? And something you can do when you're laying the groundwork and the muscle memory right away to get good at soloing, you should just, whenever you're watching TV or doing something else and you've got your guitar in your hands, you should just be practicing the flow of the scale up and down, whether rhythmically, doesn't even matter. You just want to start being able to climb left and right or whatever, you know, going across, back and forth on the scale. So that's the first thing you should start practicing, especially when you're not even playing, like I said, when you're watching TV or whatever. And if you could eventually start to alternate every note you pick, that would be the next step. However, if you can't really do that yet, just do downstrokes. And the reason for that is so crucial because to start soloing, what we want to do is we want to be able to flow that scale comfortably. It'll get us, you know, get the technique going, but then the other thing is we'll start to learn licks. You can just learn one lick at a time, but then use the climbing of the scale and climbing down of the scale to connect those licks together, and then you're soloing. So, like, here's just a really simple lick, you know. A lot of my guys were all doing this bend, so we'll do that. Ring finger on the 7th fret of the G string. And when I bend, I like to use all 3 fingers on that string just to control the bend. And I'm just resolving it to the 5th fret on the same string. So that's one lick, right? So practicing the scale up and down will enable you to extend those things out. So you got this little bend lick, right? What you can start to do immediately is connect those little licks you learn with just that scale that you've been practicing up and down. Here's an example. Here's the lick. Okay? So what you can start to practice, especially over like a backing track, you know, if you had any kind of thing, you know, jam track. In fact, also there'll be a link down there for some free jam tracks. So you can go, instead of just, and that's like the only thing you know how to solo, you could go. Only thing I did there besides that bend lick was just that flow up and down. So that's one lick. Let's do another lick. We'll do this. Just that long one right here. And I was just going 8, 8, 8, 5 with a little nudge, but not bending it too much, just a little. So now we have 2 licks and the climbing up and down of the scale. Watch. And once I did that bend lick, I could climb up the scale farther. And I could go back down. So then you have a 3rd lick. Which I've taught that lick. It's just kind of a, you know, standard lick there, but. So we went 7, 5, 7 on the G string, then 5 on the B, then 5 on the G, so you have to roll your finger over. Look at this. Then to the 7 on the D. So that's more complicated than what we had. So 3 licks in the scale running up and down. Lick 1, resolve to that. Lick 2, lick 3, combined with being fluid, or alternate. So look, I'll use the 3 licks and flow that scale practice in between the 3 licks. So what you can do is keep learning one easy little lick at a time and use the flow of the scale to connect, to connect the elements together. And so truly what improvising is, and I said this at the camp too, truly improvising is what licks and musical ideas you already have and have practiced, your vocabulary. The improvising is which ones you're throwing in where and how you're going to connect them together and how you're choosing to throw those licks out that you already have in your vocabulary. Okay, so here I go. And no backing track, I'm just going to show those 3 licks combined with flowing the scale up and down. And we haven't done an extension, we haven't learned 5 positions of the pentatonic, nothing. Just got this. Here we go. The thing is, empty space is great when you're soloing over stuff. You don't want to just have continuous sound coming out. The pauses are crucial. So here I go again. I'll repeat it. Up the scale. Some simple licks, but it's the concept more important than those licks. As far as, you want to be soloing as quickly as possible. How do you do it? This is the thing to prioritize, those concepts right there. And I used to sit, with the TV on, not even the guitar plugged in, and just, back and up and down that pentatonic scale. But so once you get, you can kind of handle a solo a little bit, then we just want to start thinking about how we travel up and down on the guitar. Because so far we were only going across this way, right? So the next thing we learn, we still visualize the root. So if some guy's playing a progression in A, or or a bar chord, whatever, you're like, oh, the first chord's A, so I plug in my A root on the E string there, it's the 5th fret, and I plug that in, that's all I got. But then, I'm wanting to expand that, so you got the root right there, you got another root right here, so those are both A, and then you have an A right here. So when you're playing, the licks usually resolve to that A, like. You hear that root, and it's like, oh, the phrase is over. But we have that note's part of the scale as well. It's not the root though, it still resolves to that, but so here's the extension. And when you start practicing the extension, the extended scale, in the beginning, you only want to use your index and your ring finger for the whole thing, and always slide with your ring finger. I'll repeat it. Index and ring for the extension, and always slide with your ring finger. And I'm just talking about practice. So we're gonna go 3, 5 on the E string, 3, 5 on the A string, slide with the ring, and that's what I said. And now you're in the scale. So we just went farther than what you could do. So we got 3, 5, 3, 5, slide. 5, 7 on the D, 5, 7 on the G, slide with the ring again, to the 9. Index on the 8 of the B. That's where it's weird, because you got the 9 on the G with your ring finger, but then index is on the 8 of the B. You want to really get that. Check it out. Right there, 10 on the B, and then 8, 10 on the high E. And then on the way down, you're sliding with your ring finger still, watch. So we got 10, 8, 10, 8, 9 on the G with the ring finger, slide with the ring finger. When you get to the 7 on the A, slide with that. That's the root, go down, but then resolve it on the root. And then so you practice that over and over too. And so that's the same thing. It's like a freeway, and then you learn licks. You can learn some licks in this zone. We already started learning licks in the main position of it. Climb up, and then you have a whole set of licks there. And that would be the next thing to do, and then you just keep filling in and compartmentalize little things. Learn some licks today. Practice the scale up and down today. Practice the extension up and down today. But start in that zone. Don't learn a bunch of scales. I don't even think, if we're talking about just learning the solo, I don't think you should spend a lot of time practicing, like the major scale or the mode shapes if you can't play a blues solo yet. So we're talking about priorities, because if you get good with soloing in the blues and you've got some licks and you've been using your technique, then learning the major scale after that is going to be easier anyway. You don't want to work too much on just trying to memorize too many scale shapes and all that, okay? So now I'll just end it with playing with that extension and just using that pentatonic extension and the pentatonic shape. So keep jamming, but there was just kind of a little perspective, and there was some really interesting things, feedback I got from hanging out with real people that have watched a lot of my lessons. So that was just a little kind of like reaffirmation of some things to do.